Good morning and welcome. This is Mission Control Houston. You're getting a live look now at the Quest Airlock's equipment lock inside the International Space Station, where preparations are underway to begin a 6.5-hour single-task spacewalk. Our spacewalkers today are NASA astronauts Tom Marshburn and Kayla Barron. They're just now on the other side of the hatch in what's known as the crew lock. When they come into view, Tom Marshburn will be wearing the suit with the red stripes, and Kayla Barron will be wearing a white striped or unmarked spacesuit. They are not visible on screen now. The two launched to the space station as part of the Crew 3 mission earlier this month. Right now on your screen, you can see Mark Bandahai and Raja Chari. They'll be flying in and out of view as they help Marshburn and Barron along to get their EVA underway. Mark Bandahai on your screen now in the pants, while Rajachari is wearing the green shorts. Barron and Marshburn have completed the suit-up process in preparation to exit the space station's Quest airlock.
For US EVA 78, both crew members will be working together to replace a failed S-band antenna. EV1 will be Tom Marshburn wearing the suit with the red stripes. EV2 will be Kayla Barron wearing the suit with the white stripes. EV1 will lead out by going up to Cedar Spur and translating on to Face 1. There he will begin setting up the robotic arm. EV2 will follow the same path initially, translate up to Face 1, and then continue zenith past the failed S-band antenna and out to Express Logistics Carrier number 3. Once at the worksite, EV2 will stow 2 bags and then retrieve a rigidizable tether. This tether will be installed on the forward face of the logistics carrier and will be used to temporarily stow the degraded antenna as it's brought over to the carrier later in the EVA. EV1 will set up the robotic arm by installing a portable foot restraint, and then we'll ingress that foot restraint and get ready for arm motion. EV2 will continue some prep work at the Express Logistics Carrier, and then we'll translate to the degraded SASA, or S-band antenna. EV1 will then provide guidance to the robotic arm to get him to his next work site, while EV2 will release 3 connectors that provide heater power, functional power, and data. EV1 will put gimbal locks in place. These will prevent the antenna from moving as it's translated back and forth from P1 over to the Express Logistics Carrier. These 4 bolts will then be driven by the pistol grip tool. EV1 will then have the robotic arm rotate him around to the handrail side of the S-band antenna, while EV2 releases the stanchion bolt that secures the antenna to structure. Once that bolt is released, the crew will work together to free the antenna, and EV1 will translate on the robotic arm to Express Logistics Carrier number 3. Both crew members will work together to temporarily stow this S-band antenna and that rigidizable tether. They'll then begin to prepare the spare so that it can be brought over to P1. They'll remove a thermal blanket, stow that out of the way. This provides thermal conditioning for the unit. They each have 2 bolts each to release, and they'll be using a special tool called a right-angle drive in order to gain access to those bolts. EV2 will then get into position to drive the 2 remaining bolts. Pistol grip tool will be used for that as well. These are called the masked bolts. There's a soft dock to overcome. Once that is overcome, EV1 will gain control of the spare unit and then we'll ride the arm over to the P1 worksite. Once at the P1 worksite, both crew members will work together to soft dock this, where it will be temporarily held into the truss, while EV2 drives the stanchion bolt that will secure it in place. EV2 will then reconnect the three connectors that provide heater power, functional power, and data. EV1 will release the 4 gimbal locks. At this point, the antenna will be free to track satellites to allow good communication between the space station and the ground. Once the crew is clear of the worksite, they'll perform a checkout on this antenna. Both crew members will then head back to Express Logistics carrier number 3. At this point, they'll be working together to stow the degraded unit back onto the Flight Releasable Attach Mechanism, or FRAM. This is the way that these ORUs, or orbital replacement units, are brought onto the space station. This one has heater power that helps to keep it alive. EV2 will drive 2 bolts to secure it to structure. These are called the mast bolts. Once those bolts are driven, the final step will be to install a thermal blanket that provides thermal conditioning and keeps this degraded unit available as a spare if it's ever needed. EV1 will then back away from the work site on the robotic arm and head back towards the truss. EV2 will then gather the bags and tools at the work site and stow those on her body restraint tether. She'll head back to the airlock where she can stow those bags. Meanwhile, EV1 will be getting off of the robotic arm. He'll remove the portable foot restraint and he'll return it to the starboard seat of cart. This is where he picked it up at the beginning of the EVA. EV1 will then head back to the airlock as well. They're both ingress. And this will conclude US EVA 78.
Our LEDs are out.
Roger, and work. Power for EV1 and 2 is off. All 4 LEDs are off.
Okay, copy. And then on your DCM, you can disconnect your SCU from your DCM.
Disconnecting.
Work for 2. DCM, or my SCU is disconnected from the DCM and working on getting it in the pouch.
Okay.
1, and the DCM cover is back in place.
Okay, copy. You guys are working the covers and the DCM covers as well as the SUs into the pouch. Okay, Tom, your go to egress, and then if you'd attach your anchor hook to the forward external D-ring, and we'll stand by for your checks.
Yes. EV1, I've got my anchor hook closed and locked on the forward external airlock D-ring.
Copy that, Tom, and your go to connect Kayla's now to the aft external D-ring, and we'll stand by for those checks.
Copy.
You may hear our ground IV, Drew Morgan, refer to the astronauts as EV1 and EV2. Tom Marshburn is designated EV1, while Kayla Barron is EV2. Tom is wearing the suit with the red stripes, while Barron is wearing the unmarked suit.
Kayla, I understand that you are safe inside for right now.
Yep. I waist tether in where it was.
Copy.
The airlock, or the airlock steering extender.
Okay, Kayla, your anchor hook, EV2, closed and locked on the aft external airlock steering.
Roger.
I'm working on getting out of your way.
I am getting in position to transfer you crew lock bag number 1 on your go.
Copy.
And Tom, we hear you guys both in good tether configuration. You can give Kayla a go to release your waist tether at any point, and I understand you guys are working the bag, so we'll stand back from that. Know you guys have a plan, and we'll stand by.
And Kayla, you are go to release that when you can, when you want to.
There's the bag.
Okay, I'm getting my BRT ready.
If you take a close look at the top of your screen, you can see Tom Marshburn, NASA astronaut wearing the spacesuit with the red stripes, being the first one out the door.
Remove the airlock rat.
Okay, copy that. Handrail and your safety tether looks to be in a good config. Your ORU bag is nicely pinned to your left.
Roger. And for you, Tom, I see 2 green lights, one for WDS, one for HECA. I see 3 tabs up. I see 2 safety handles, compression safer handles down. And I see your crew lock bag nicely off to your left there on your BRT. And your tethers look like they're in a good config. And my baseline HAP check is complete. My HAP is dry.
And for one, my HAP is dry as well. Go ahead, Drew.
Copy, Tom. And your first action will be just temp stowing your crew lock bag, and that'll be about in the area where you see the tip lee.
Okay, copy.
I'm coming up behind you on the toolboxes.
Right, I'm heading up to Cedar Spur.
Roger.
Spare leads in place.
I see it. It looks great.
The astronauts are now headed to their respective workstations outside of the space station. Kayla Barron will take a path to the one that you see in blue here on your screen, to the external logistics carrier number 3, where the spare SASA is mounted. Tom Marshburn will take the shorter path in red on the bottom third of your screen to Canadarm 2, the robotic arm. Once configured, European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer will control the robotic arm and take Marshburn to the worksite.
Okay. As far as black on black, good rotate test, good pull test, and the pitch knob is out. And we're going to pop a check on the Fox and the 6.
Good check so far, Tom. Tom, while you're in motion, we'll take a glove and a half.
Here you go. Copy. Gloves are pristine. Up is dry.
We copy, Tom.
Centers.
We're setting up a showcast for you, Tom.
Copy. How's the shroud going, Kayla?
Good. I got the clamshell removed, and it's headed back towards the high-pressure gas tank as we hoped.
Okay.
And I am working on tents as we speak.
Nice work.
And Drew, I have the clamshell and tent tethered down and tucked in, I think, sufficiently to allow me to translate across. Just wondering if you think I should start working the ERAD for the launch bolt.
Yeah, Kayla, we think that's the next best step. So we'll work towards getting your ERAD on, give us those checks, and then we'll start working those bolts.
Roger, and work.
Tom, we wanted to have you check with bolt 4 if you were able to back that bolt off by hand one turn.
Give it a try. Oh, the bolt head itself.
Affirmative.
Work. It is. The gloves is slipping over it. I got a little bit of motion out of it there.
Starting ISS forward motion, about 1.5 meters.
Copy. I see good motion.
Centimeters. All right, here comes port motion.
Good motion.
Their next task is to temporarily stow the degraded SASA. They're going to put it on a rigid tether that Kayla Barron had installed earlier. This task is expected to take about 25 minutes. However, our 2 spacewalking astronauts are making great time.
A third of the way through the move.
Copy.
They reported that they're a third of the way over to the work site, and as they make their way over, I'm going to take a question from Twitter. We have a question from Shazzy, who asks, are they always hooked connected to the ISS during spacewalk? That's a great question, and the answer is yes, they are always tethered to the space station. You may often hear the Capcom or the ground IV working with the astronauts working on tether configurations. For instance, earlier, Tom Marshburn had to get his tethers from the space station and onto the robotic arm. However, in the unlikely event that they become untethered, Marshburn and Barron both have SAFER units on. SAFER is a shorter way of saying Simplified Aid for EVA Rescue. If you're familiar with the jetpack, the SAFERs are not too far off. They're worn during spacewalks as a precaution only, and they're only used if an astronaut were to become untethered from the space station. In this unlikely situation, the astronaut would use their SAFER to propel themselves back to the space station, just like a jetpack.
I can see you there. the side all nice and prepped. The clamshell and the line's gone.
Again about the clamshell, Tom?
I can just see that it's off.
Yep, it is.
Yep. It's work down there.
While he's working his mass bolts, anytime not absolutely required, but it'll be helpful if you can.
You just heard the voice of NASA astronaut Kayla Barron. It will be her first spacewalk, while Tom Marshburn is on his fifth. Marshburn's first 3 spacewalks took place over the course of the 15-day STS-127 mission back in 2009. The mission saw the delivery of the Japanese-built exposed facility and the experiment logistics module exposed section to the space station. The 4th spacewalk of his career occurred in 2013 when Marshburn worked with Chris Cassidy to mitigate an ammonia coolant leak.
You're in position hold. We're setting up here, and we'll be ready to maneuver to GCA to publish for the SAS attempt stow position.
Copy. Kayla, do you want me to hold it up to you for a picture or just wait till later?
Is it currently symbol .4 on my side? Yeah, let me give it a shot.
And Kayla, Tom, just confirm you're clearing the high gain antenna from the EL23.
And Tom can confirm I am.
Thanks.
Got it tended forward.
1 meter to go.
Continue. Stop motion.
You can confirm stop motion?
Stop motion.
Stop motion, about 30 centimeters short of the published.
What do you think, Kayla? I think we're good.
I think we can get it on.
Okay.
Feel comfortable.
All right, in GCA.
Copy, GCA complete.
And I can hold it up so you can get that picture right now if you'd like.
Okay.
Or before we pop it in.
Say again.
I can turn the high gain around to you for a picture if you'd like now, or
Okay.
do it later. All right?
Yeah, let's do it now.
Okay. A little closer for you than that last one. Tell me when you're good.
Watch the high gain antenna on the spare over here. You're a little close.
Copy.
And let's see.
It'll lift this end up.
Yeah. Tom, if you could just rotate it so that
That one.
RFG facing up. There you go.
I see.
And we're almost in there. Just need to straighten out. And if you could lift your end up.
Work.
And but further, your end needs to go toward forward and up a little bit.
The SASA, or S-band antenna subassembly, is used to transmit.
I'm sure I can reach that.
Is the shirt and scarf both tethered, Tom?
No, the scarf is not.
Okay.
I see tether points over on your side. Looks like they're rotated from what we expected a bit.
Okay. Do you want to pass the adjustable through to me?
The SASA went down last September with a failed return link, meaning that Mission Control can send data up, but the antenna lost its ability to send signals back to Earth through NASA's Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System, or EGRESS. Fortunately, due to some redundancies on the station, we're still able to communicate with the International Space Station on the ground, even without the SASA.
It's torquing out at this setting.
Copy, checking.
We found out about this faulty system back in mid-September, and it was actually really advantageous for us because it meant Kayla Barron and Tom Marshburn hadn't launched to the space station yet. They had time to train in NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory here and NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. It's a large pool that astronauts use to train for their spacewalks on the ground.
Current setting is Bravo 7.
Negative. Bravo 2.
Bravo 2, okay. Copy.
Meter to go.
On your screen now are live views of Tom Marshburn moving on the robotic arm of the International Space Station carrying the spare SASA.
Ramping out.
As Kayla Barron moves to the P1 work site and Tom Marshburn hitches a ride over there on the robotic arm, the International Space Station is flying over Kazakhstan. As the astronauts make their way over to the work site, we can take some questions. We solicited some questions on our Instagram at NASA Johnson, and we can go through a couple of those. The first one comes from Adam, who asks, what truss is the antenna on? Well, the truss is going to be installed on the P1 truss. This is where the degraded unit is and where the spare is going to be installed shortly. The spare was kept on the Express Logistics Carrier 3, which is located on the P3 truss of the International Space Station.
We're ready for maneuver to GCA to publish spare gimbal lock position.
Okay, ready for the GCA to publish. Start GCA. Station starboard 1 meter.
Copy. And do you want us to take you to the published, or just?
Hey, firm.
So it's going to be about 1 meter starboard and then 1.5 meters aft, starting the starboard motion first.
All sounds good.
Got my green hook up. I'm moving over to 3624, and I'll head out to meet you, Tom.
Copy. So good motion, Roger.
1 meter to go.
Motion.
Okay, stop the motion. That's about 40 centimeters, about half a meter short of the published for starboard.
Okay, looks good for right now.
All right, we'll give you about 1.5 meters aft then.
Sounds good. Cindy, good clearance.
See, 1 meter to go.
Cindy. Cindy.
First.
Cindy.
20 centimeters.
And stop motion.
The International Space Station is flying through an orbital nighttime, so the views are a little dark, but you can see the Canadarm 2 with NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn attached.
You're a little closer than we're supposed to. Just make sure you've watched clearance as we slide to starboard.
Okay, good clearance.
He's in communication with NASA astronaut Raj Achari. Right now he's working to loosen the gimbals to allow the SASA antenna to track satellites and allow for communication between the ground and the space station.
Say 20 centimeters. Right side towards the helmet, same thing. It worked. And broke torque on that. We tried again. I'm not like it did, but actually it's didn't see any socket movement. Let me do it again. Yeah, the socket's not turning on it.
We just got confirmation that well ahead of schedule, our spacewalkers, NASA astronauts Kayla Barron and Tom Marshburn, have installed the spare SASA to the International Space Station's P1 truss. This involved installing a stanchion bolt and connecting some wires that Barron had previously disconnected. This allowed power to the unit. And Tom Marshburn worked diligently to get the gimbal locks released. The fourth one gave him a little bit of trouble and required a little bit more coaxing, but at the end of the day, Tom Marshburn was able to get the job done.
Starting motion.
Begin motion.
Here to go.
Good motion.
10 centimeters ramping out. Okay, next will take me about a meter port.
Copy, meter port, begin motion.
Centimeters. Okay, ramping out. Motion's complete, so we're going to set up for a JOCAS now.
All right, NGCA.
And Tom, we copied your go for SASA power up, so we're working that now.
SASA RFG.
We're all listening.
So I have a good view of the, what would be the sort of nadir face and then the larger surface area face that faced outboard when it was installed. Right now I don't have a great view of the most zenith face, but on the main area of the RFG that would face outboard when installed, there's got some good shots of you over at the one site, Tom.
Nice.
I think they're good. We'll find out later.
About 90% done with the move.
Copy.
Roger.
You might have seen a camera peeking out from the bottom of the screen with direction from Tom Marshburn asking Kayla to take a peek. It looks like we just had a selfie in space.
Ramping out.
Before the quick photo, Kayla Barron was communicating with the ground, giving a visual inspection of the outside of the International Space Station.
And we are ready for maneuver to GCA to publish to SASA transfer position.
And I'm ready for GCA to publish. Kelly, you good with comms?
Yep.
All right, start GCA. Publish.
GCA, it's to be about 2.5 meters nadir. I'll let you know before the motion starts.
Copy.
All right, starting motion nadir.
Copy. Second motion.
Meters.
It's tough to tell on your screen, but on the right side, the robotic arm of the station is gently moving astronaut Tom Marshburn.
1 meter.
Copy. You.
50 centimeters.
And stop motion.
Out. About 30 centimeters short.
And stand by one. Kayla, I think we're in the, let's see. Pretty good position here, Roger, I believe. You agree, Kayla?
Yeah, as long as you feel comfortable, you can control the SASA as I release it. I can.
All right. Hit GCA.
GCA complete.
All right, let me get a red on it here.
Standing by.
Marshburn communicating with the robotic arm operators Matthias Maurer and Rajachari.
Release my ret now while the handrail is still near me.
Okay, and I have control. Good motion. Well, watch your left arm a little bit there.
Roger, give me 1 second. I'll move away a little bit.
Copy, Kayla. Thermal cover's open, and you can stow the bags as you would like. We know that you also have that ratchet wrench still on your mini workstation. If you wanted to take that off and stow it separately, up to you.
Barron just gave verbal confirmation that the hatch thermal cover is open, one of the early steps into getting back into the Quest airlock. She's now going to work on stowing some of the bags that contain the tools that they needed to replace the degraded SASA. Now approaching 6 hours into the spacewalk with NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn and Kayla Barron, Barron's first and Marshburn's fifth spacewalk of his career. The Quest airlock is now in view on your screen.
My one, Tom, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. No,
Before you
started drifting a little bit.
try to get a little more right here.
So, there you go.
And when you're ready, Kayla, you can attach your right waist tether to the airlock D-ring extender and lock it.
Doing work right now. My waist tether is attached to the airlock D-ring extender. It's closed, tight or locked. And Tom, I'm going to get this medium ORU bag on a airlock vent real quick, and then I'll be ready to get out of your way and take the other crew lock bag.
Copy. Done.
And then, Tom, we have one last task for you after you get that crew lock bag over to Kayla. If you could use your D5 camera and take some pictures of the aft pit pin on the forward hinge of the hatch. I think you've seen the diagrams, so just go ahead and take pictures of all those.
Right, right.
Looks like astronaut Tom Marshburn was assigned the last get-ahead task of the day to photograph a pit pin on the hinge of the hatch, installed during the first all-international spacewalk out of the Quest airlock.
Attendant on my way. And I'll finish ingressing.
While Marshburn grabs that photo, Barron is disappearing from view as she enters into the Quest airlock, her feet now visible as she's almost completely inside.
Okay, I'm looking.
There we go. Medium ORU bag.
Gold medium.
All right, Tom.
Okay.
Fully ingressed.
Copy. Got a crew lock bag here for you.
Got a hand on it.
Copy.
Got the airlock thread on it, and I'm going to release yours. You ready for it?
Let's see. I'm ready.
Okay, it's coming to you.
Okay. Thanks. Let me know when you're safe inside the safe. There's a lock on the.
That's already complete.
You're all complete, so you are good to go.
Yep, and you have a go to ingress. Ready.
Marshburn is now making his way inside the Quest airlock. Meanwhile, astronaut Rajachari has left Matthias Maurer and is headed back to the equipment lock, where he'll assist Barron and Marshburn out of their suits with the help of the other suit IV, Mark Vandehei.
Okay, Tom, and your go to take Kayla's anchor hook and put it onto your right waist tether and then confirm that it's locked.
And you just heard NASA astronaut remarking on her very first spacewalk that it was awesome. This was the 245th EVA for station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades. It was the 13th spacewalk for the year for the ISS. This was Marshburn's 5th spacewalk, giving him a total of 31 hours, 1 minute spacewalking time outside of the space station. This is Barron's first ever spacewalk, so the total of today's spacewalk, 6 hours and 32 minutes, is her record. Since this is the 245th spacewalk, that totals 1,548 hours and 26 minutes, or the equivalent of 64 days, 12 hours, and 26 minutes. This is the very first EVA of Expedition 66. Suit IV Rajachari working to get the first spacewalker back through the hatch.
Airlock Houston on 1. The EV crew is no longer hot mic'd.
Copy.
And it looks like Kayla Barron, having just completed her very first spacewalk, is the first one back. Chari and Vandehei now working to remove her safer units. The jetpack type backpack that would have been used in case of an emergency was not needed today. Barron's safer unit is now removed. You can see Tom Marshburn still in the airlock, in the crew lock. He's got the suit with the red stripes. Astronauts Kayla Barron and Tom Marshburn began their day by removing a degraded S-band subassembly, just one of many communications antennae aboard the space station. It had lost partial functionality a few months ago, but thanks to several redundancies built in, the crew saw very minimal impact to their operations. They brought a spare SASA already on board, connected to the EGRESS logistics carrier number 3, and put it in the degraded SASA's place on the P1 truss of the International Space Station. They got the spare installed, hooked up, turned on, and they did a communications check to verify that it worked. The team here in Mission Control confirmed that they saw the communications antenna online and that they heard the voice check. The spacewalkers restored S-band capability to the International Space Station this morning. They wrapped up the day by stowing the degraded antenna, hooking it up to a heat source, and tucking it in for the night with a thermal blanket covering. Kayla Barron was able to complete some get-ahead tasks, including braking torque on some of the bolts on the battery charge and discharge units, and connecting some wire ties. Both are now in the equipment lock. They completed all of their tasks for today, including the get-ahead tasks. And in the words of astronaut Mark Vanda High in the farther part of your screen, they triple crushed it. Marshburn wrapped up his 5th EVA with his career with some kind words, noting that it was unbelievable that everyone was able to pull this together in just a few weeks, and gave a nod to his support team, including EVA officer Art Thomason, her flight director Vincent LaCourte, and all the folks here on the ground, including those monitoring the spacesuits and robotics.